As I said in my end of year list, I was considering putting out some quick and easy new release content just to kind of keep the upload schedule somewhat steady, since some ideas take a lot of time to research and put together. As such, I'm just going to run through a few of the top releases I find in each month of the year. They don't need to be released that month, since I'm always missing stuff when it drops, but they do need to be released in 2026. January is usually a rough month for listening because there's no missed things to discover to fill up the gaps in the schedule, and no one really starts highlighting things until a few weeks in. As it stands, I did manage to listen to enough metal albums to at least fill out a 1 per day tempo, but they're all pretty random and uncurated to my taste, so it is what it is. At any rate, let's get to it and start talking about random metal albums until I have about 10 minutes of content. Number 6. Draconis Infernum, Black Flames of Satan. Draconis Infernum are probably the least Singaporean sounding Singaporean band of all time. It's a very authentic recreation of the late 90s blasty Swedish and Norwegian black metal sound of bands like Ethereal, Ragnarok, and of course the Little Marduk. There's maybe a slight lean towards Gorgoroth as opposed to being all about militant melodic blast beat intensity. I mean, it is all melodic blast beat music, but it's a little more versatile and grandiose than being pure down-the-line Swedish anger. At over 50 minutes of this one thing, it's definitely one of those albums which has served its purpose after one listen, so I have no need to come back to this at any time soon, but the riffs are good and I had a good time with it with my very filling listen. Number 5. Polaris Experience, Drifting Through Voids. I don't keep much of an eye on thrash, but I do like a good slab of tech thrash, and this is like Vector meets Cynic, which is a combo which definitely caught my eye. On one hand, it pretty much hit the imagined target, which is good, but on the other hand, it may also be AI. There are a lot of red flags on this one. The logo and art just give that vibe without having any explicit tells. The production is super clean and sterile, but it is sci-fi progressive tech thrash, so we're not meant to feel things. And I can't really pick up at any of the background hiss or vocal pitchfork that usually comes with AI music. It doesn't sound remotely Japanese, for the lack of a better word, despite there being the quoted country of origin. The label they're on has 4 releases, all in this style, many with more AI-looking arts and logos, with 3 full-lengths launching on the exact same day as this. They all have the same vocals. Several real artists are listed as guest artists, and none of them have posted any promotion about the record. The main members themselves are named but have no priors. This is Red Flag City. On the other hand, that's a pretty big gamble to link real artists to your scam. And if you're going to scam, there's obviously better financial targets than this style. The label has been contactable and claims to be opposed to using AI. But obviously, they could just be lying. The album itself is extremely complex, yet doesn't feel bolted together, so it would be extremely impressive for AI to not make a clunky mess out of it at any stage. It's also very sonically consistent throughout. It doesn't sound like a bunch of song or song parts mixed independently. Bandcamp also haven't deleted it with their new policy. If anyone wants to hop onto Suno and ask it to make a 7-minute song that sounds like a mix of Terminal Redux and Focus and see what comes out, I'd be curious. I wouldn't listen, but I'd be curious. So giving it the benefit of the doubt and assuming that it's not AI, we can have a look at it as music. The general basis is quite high tempo but rhythmically complex tech thrash with some melodic and more extreme touches breaking through from time to time. Vector is the obvious touchstone, but this isn't quite as dramatically energetic with the spikes of extremity and big-time hooks toned back from that. Instead, the complexity of the playing is pushed forward another notch further, which is no small feat. This is broken up with big slabs of much lighter progressive and jazzy stuff, which again has the technical showcase right up front. These vary around a bit in style, from quite fully Cynic-like fusion sci-fi metal things, to acoustic-driven picking workouts, to elaborate demonstrations of outwardly harmonious and melodic skills. There are a lot of these 2 moves, so it absolutely runs a solid 15 minutes too long if I'm being generous, and it is very, very slick and tidy music, so it can get tiring. Obviously, that's not a good thing when the package is so neat that you can't be confident that it's not shut out by a computer, but other than that, I really enjoyed this one. I just hope like hell that it's not AI, or else it's all over for me. I'm officially the grandpa sharing slop on Facebook. Number 4. Serpent Column, Aeon of Strife. At the risk of coming across like someone who doesn't think that AI is completely worthless, yet is still a heinous strain on society and humanity as a whole, the fourth best thing I heard this month was the new Serpent Column. There's no proof that a Polaris experience is AI, and the AI bullshit is in Theophonos' shitty solo projects, so I'm claiming to still be keeping that muck off me through any technicality I can find. This goes for a much rawer production than the band has previously used, but in that hide the microphone under a pile of pillows type of way. The music is largely pure mellow black at this stage, so I get that they need to retain some of the edge they used to generate with the piercing mathcore production and panic chords, but this is the kind of vague and muffled type of raw, not something harsh and biting, which I would have greatly preferred. I'm a really big fan of Endless Detainment by these guys, but otherwise the mathcore aspects of the band and dramatically shittier Theophonos follow-up don't really appeal to me. So I'm fairly okay with this defining aspect being toned way back, despite their best release being built around it. Given the band's technical skill and penchant for long, complex, constantly shifting riffs, I think they're a good fit for a mellowback reband. The level of detailing in the riff count is pretty much exactly what you'd hope for from a Serpent Column going full mellow black album, but it is surprisingly soft and restrained at times, with most of the weirder time stuff tends to be quite open sounding and mid-paced. By and large, it's just a parade of big, interesting riffs with a lot of technical flourishes and one that I enjoyed thoroughly. The noodly, heavy metal pizzazz gives the riffs a bit of an Argus-Lenty type of vibe, although apparently they're meant to be flaming Ouroboros ones. I guess he's just got really big into racism of late. I do wish it just went all out with it like last year's Valan, and it wasn't produced like us, but this is one that I could feasibly see sitting around the top 20 for the rest of the year. Number 3. Dawnbreaker, Pactum Sanguine Novo. Hey, since was Christian black metal tolerable? This is fairly broad service black metal. Like a lot of modern stuff, it tries to touch on a lot of different cliches across the genre. There's everything from full speed aggression stuff, meaty dark throne grooves, epic yet stern melodic sound state stuff, which is a lot like Emperor but without the keyboards, and just some more friendly modern melodic parts. There's even some orthodox dissonant type bits. Hell, there's even a blackened sludge track in the middle. It's nothing particularly new in isolation. It really is just running through the standards of Mayhem and Emperor with a couple more modern touches, but the guitar tone is blown out to all hell and the drum machine is designed about pure violence, so there's a much rawer and more intense edge to it to a lot of these more wide-ranging modern black metal bands. All in all, it's a fairly common idea, delivered with a bit more fury and harshness than it usually is these days, and a riff focus that I always like to see in the genre. Hail Jesus, apparently. Number 2. Funeral Dancer, Inner Gate. Blackened heavy metal generally doesn't do a whole lot for me. It tends to take the worst of both worlds and create something super lame, but Funeral Dancer does the trick for me. It's a hard-rocking, heavy metal record at its core, with a nice, biting production, the odd extreme metal interruption, and of course some wet black metal snarls. I don't think the vocals fit super well, but it ignores most of the basic trad tropes I can't stand, like placeholder gallop riffs, and it works its way through big rockstar guitar leads, D-beaty energy sections, and heavy stomps as concisely as it can. It's definitely more of a party record than an epic or emotional one, but yeah.
Party on, contest winners. Party on.
It's no
Number 1, Refugium, In Hope of Eternal Life. If the band name, album title, and cover art didn't give it away, Refugium really liked the early and mid-90s Peaceville death doom scene. Like, a lot. It's highly pastiche type stuff, but apparently I'm in the mood for this because I think this is great. It's very melodic and melodramatic as per the style it's trying to ape, but there's some self-consciousness about it being too wimpy, so a bit like genre periphery hardasses like Paramecium, Decomposed, or Ceremonium, it's got a fairly consistent heaviness and riffiness to it that keeps the super clean and gothic parts largely to itself. Obviously there are a few little spoken word and cleanly sung moments. Most songs start with a cleanly played melodic lick, and there are keyboards everywhere, but they're all mixed fairly low and only last for a few seconds so as to not get in the way of the more riff-forward approach. Given it's such a strict genre exercise, it's kind of tough to come up with much more to say about it. The production is suitably old school, but it packs a bit more modern density. The dude's growl is a perfect time period representation. There's only like 3 things it does, namely soft intros, big melodic sad parts, and chunkier, heavier riff parts, but it moves between them quickly enough to be fairly dynamic for the style. Overall, it's a bunch of sad riffs delivered in a fairly heavy and convincing manner. We figured out how to do this by like 1992, and it's using the rulebook from there very effectively. I probably would have skipped this if it launched after I already had a backlog, and I'm glad that I didn't. So that was my January. I'm actually pretty happy with this little selection. I was worried that I might be scrounging for things to fill up time with, but I've left off a few decent things just to keep this from becoming a 20-minute video. I don't think any of these will be making the top 10 by the end of the year, but they're a better first round than I could have hoped for. Hopefully February will give me a chance to not be worried about AI at any stage, and give me a couple of things to really enthusiastically lock in for the end of year ranking. At the very least, it should bring along my next proper video, since I'm actually up to recording on that one. So feel free to share anything that you think I missed, and I'll see you next time for whatever it is.